is going on, guys? BASSFZz here. Now, if you saw my video titled Questions Women Have for Men, I opened up by saying that I watched a couple of videos by feminists where they talk about masculinity, and well, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And it really bothers me when I see women, particularly feminists, talk about masculinity. It's not simply because there's always such a gross ignorance on the topic, but it just swells with so much of feminine propaganda. And what I mean by that is, feminists are constantly trying to redefine masculinity, and they're constantly trying to make men be more like women. And right now, we had a couple of men who were arrested for manspreading. It's even come down in New York to how you sit. It's a constantly, women are feminists, to be more specific, because women want masculine men. That's a very important aspect. It's really feminists, a lot of the social engineering that is really attacking what it means to be a man and trying to make men be women, trying to make men be, vulnerable and very effeminate, trying to make men, the only word I can use is trying to make men be women, and one person, if you want to go and delve into conspiracy theory territory, you would even say the recent thing that happened with Bruce Jenner, becoming a woman is a very good example of that. If you would have said, 10, 15 years ago that feminists or that, the powers that be are trying to blur the lines between male and female, they would have looked at you like you were crazy, like you lost your mind. And yet they've done that. They have blurred the lines between what it means to be a man and a woman. Before, it was that you had some testicles, you had testosterone, you were a man, bigger, broader shoulders meant that. You're a woman, you had fallopian tubes, you had a uterus. Now, it's whatever you feel like, And that's another topic, but today we're really more going to focus on masculinity. Masculinity, hyper-masculinity, neo-masculinity. We're going to talk about, the traits that really, make a man a man. I made a whole video series, what does it mean to be a real man? What does it mean to be a real woman? I interviewed some people and talked about it, and I got like a consensus of what a lot of the people I interviewed thought being a man meant. So in today's video, I'm going to use a couple of clips from a really good propagandist. I mean, she's either really stupid or she's a propagandist. And if you've been subscribed to my channel, you already know who it be. Lacey Green. I know, man, Lacey Green's my greatest adversary, guys. I'm sorry, but there's just so much bullshit, and there's just so many feminists that look up to her, that I gotta use her, unfortunately. And so she made a video a long while back ago, about 5 years ago, about, masculinity and tough guys, and that's the video we're gonna start with first. So I'm gonna play the clip where she starts talking about masculinity, and then I'm gonna come back and chat about that. Roll the clip.
To be pretty and weak and feminine, men are supposed to be strong and tough. This false gender binary is manifested in the physical expectations that men feel. Things like being tall, having a big penis, having a lot of muscle. These are all manifestations of masculinity.
Now, the biggest problem here is that Lacey's completely wrong there. Being tall, having a big penis, and being muscular are all manifestations of biology. They're all manifestations of what attracts women to men. So she's just wrong there. That's not masculinity, and that's not even close to being masculine. I think with anything, with the term masculinity, I think the best way to really define that would be the traits that are primarily found in men would be a good definition of the word there, But these traits that Lacey say, they're not caused by masculinity. They're caused by sexual dimorphism, sexual attraction. Women want men who have those qualities. It has nothing to do with what it means to be a man, or what does it mean to be an honorable man or a good man. So that's just absolute nonsense here. All the way back from 5 years ago. Oh, gee.
A lot of partners don't want to date an alpha male. I brought my friend Evan in to talk more about this.
As a male-bodied person, there are things I've picked up on that females tend to notice, maybe more than your ripped six-pack abs, your huge arms, your awesome calf implants. Simple things like posture, maybe if you slouch a lot like I do, vocabulary, how you connect sentences, your manners, and social skills.
It's the truth. For heterosexual guys, I can say that as a woman, it's much more important that you can carry a conversation, make me laugh, and just have fun the way you look. And I know that there are lots of men and women out there who feel the same exact way.
Now that last clip was actually a really good example as to where nice guys come from. Nice guys are born from the BS advice that women give them. Got a whole episode on that coming out one of these days, or if it's not already uploaded. If it is uploaded by the time I upload this video, I'll be right here. So anyway, the point that I'm making here is that it's another example of how our society is pushing men to be more effeminate. You know, I mean, not only is that just terrible advice, you know, most women do want men who, you know, look strong, most men who have big muscles. That's what they want. There's nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is the fact that women are expecting that from men when they don't expect anything of themselves. But again, talked about that in different videos. We'll talk about that again in the future. More primarily here is, again, is a push for men to, you know, be like women and voice their emotional problems like women and use their words. And, you know, men aren't women, you know, and I think it's very important that we highlight the differences between men and women, and that we understand that there's a complementary aspect between the two. And again, I just think this is just a god-awful video. I'm going to talk about this video again in the future when I have more time. So I'm going to move on to another video Lacey Green has done and chat about hypermasculinity.
This would be incomplete without discussing the role of hypermasculinity. Fury Road illustrates near religious worship of physical extremes, violent intimidation, weapons, and sexual domination. The imagery connecting the Citadel and Immortan Joe to hypermasculinity is so in your face, it's almost comical. The patriarch is a giant dude with a skull mask, a metal guitar player strapped to the front of a military truck, giant spiky cars, an all-male military where the war boys are disposable pawns for Joe's totalitarian scheme. George Miller seems to imply that this extreme masculinity will certainly be the end of what's left of the world.
Now, I find something very, I'm going to say disgusting and dastardly, you know, here. And they're very strong words to be used, but, you know, the concept of hypermasculinity is really more about associating negative qualities to being a man. You know, so hypermasculinity has the implications that this is masculinity times 10 or times 100. You know, and honestly, you know, all of those different things Lacey pointed out are not things that make a man. At least they're not things that I respect as a man. Every time I see these qualities in a man or in a male, I see a very insecure young person. I don't really see a strong person. I don't really see someone worthy of respect. I see someone who's putting on a facade of what masculinity is. I see the complete opposite of what Lacey is pointing out. And I don't think it's right for women or for any feminist to associate these negative qualities to being a man, or these extreme qualities, because it's not. You know, it's all about insecurity. It's all about putting on a facade of strength and toughness to cover up, you know, the pain inside of you, you know. So with that guy Joe, I haven't seen the movie Mad Max, so I mean, I can't really counter any of the points in terms of the plot, but I can counter that that is not masculinity in any way, shape, or form. It's not even an extreme form of masculinity. It is insecurity. You know, it's a giant mask that these young boys are wearing. And again, I don't think it's right for any feminist or any woman to even associate these qualities with what it means to be a man, because that's not masculinity. You know, the thing is, one thing I want to talk about today, really brief, I want to touch on, is a lot of women have a huge ignorance when it comes to men and violence and men in action. A lot of women associate that with like high levels of testosterone and, you know, men's natural aggression, you know, to fight and establish hierarchies. What a lot of these feminists don't understand about men is when it comes to the action and the violence, it's never about the violence. You know, it's never about the fighting. It's always about the struggle. You know, a huge part of being a man or being masculine is about the struggle to obtain something greater than yourself. You know, that is an ultimate drive in man, is to obtain something above you, or to strive for something you don't have, to work for something, to struggle. You know, it isn't about, you know, fighting and establishing hierarchies. While it is true that animals usually do fight to establish, you know, dominance, you know, that's not, we aren't pack-like animals, and we as a society, we as human beings don't do that, nor do we have a desire to do, well, some people do, but I mean, again, it's really more based around insecurity. You know, most people seek to create families and protect the people that they love and care about, which is a huge facet of what masculinity is. You know, again, going back to the struggle, it's not about the fighting, it's not about the explosions, it's about obtaining something above you. It's about struggling to obtain something beyond you. You know, that's why a lot of young men love video games. You know, the video games, a lot of feminists focus on the action and the violence and, you know, cutting of heads. That's not masculinity. That's not why these men play these games. You know, men, boys, they're playing these games because it speaks to their desire to struggle. It speaks to the desire to obtain, to become better than what they were the day before. That's why they play, that's why you level up, that's why you obtain skills. It is representing you becoming better than what you were the day before. That's what masculinity is, man. It's about controlling your emotions. It's about protecting the people you love, you know. It's about being tough. You know, it's not about pretending to be tough because you're scared. It's about being strong enough to face down the world for yourself and other people. Being tough is a part of being masculine, but it isn't about protecting yourself. It's about protecting other people. It's about striving for something beyond you. That's what the video games represents. That's what the action represents, you know. It's cool to, you know, do the high flipping, you know. It's cool to watch Captain America throw a shield. It's cool to watch Naruto do his Rasengan, but Naruto versus Sasuke is another good example, because Naruto doesn't fight Sasuke, and we don't like watching Naruto fight Sasuke because the action is cool. I'm not gonna lie, you know, but it's not about, you know, all the skills and the techniques they have. It's about Naruto trying to get his friend back. That's what speaks to people who read Naruto. That's what speaks to men who watch action films. It's about obtaining something greater than yourself. You know, and hypermasculinity shouldn't even be considered a concept, because the hypermasculinity would be going above and beyond yourself to protect people. Hypermasculinity is focusing continuously on improving yourself, focusing continuously on getting better. That's what hypermasculinity would be. You're talking about some aggressive BS that doesn't even apply to all men, but it applies to insecure people in general. I mean, women can do that too, you know, and a lot of feminists, they just don't have any idea of what masculinity is, except apart from this aggressive BS that they want to propagate, you know. And that's a huge problem when it comes to boys, because if you teach a boy at a very young age that he has a predisposition to hurt people, he's gonna grow up hating himself. You know, boys need to learn that they can be good people, that they can be better, that what they do matters. And if you tell a boy that he has a predisposition to rape a woman, is a good example I'm going to use, he's going to grow up hating himself. If you tell boys to get away from masculinity, that hyper thing, they're going to go to the opposite, because they're growing up in a mindset that tells them there's something wrong with them and they have to change to protect the people that they love and care about. And that's the most dangerous thing. That's the worst part about feminists and women who don't know what they're talking about, to talk about masculinity, because they're raising children, they're raising little boys to be upset with themselves, to hate the masculine part of themselves, instead of cultivating, you know, the truth of masculinity, instead of cultivating the idea of becoming better than what you were the day before. You know, the idea of protecting people, the idea of struggling to obtain something beyond you. And I think it's a huge disservice to children. And honestly, I don't think feminists should even touch the concept of masculinity unless they have put critical, complex thought into the topic. And that's a huge gripe I have. So I'm going to talk about hypermasculinity a lot more in the future. Hopefully this video has not ran past my allotted time. So with that being said, man, I certainly hope you guys got something out of today's video, some thinking points, because I will be continuing this conversation in the future. So that being said, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you did, man, go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment box below, and as always, have yourself a great day. I will see you cool cats soon. Adios.